when your heart becomes hardened, it gives it opens a door for this last section in Ephesians where it says, "And do not give the devil a foothold." Satan wants your heart to be hardened. He doesn't want you to be reconciled and have shalom, where it's restoration and peace and no strife in your life. He wants strife in your life. And if he has strife in your life, you're not going to be an effective Christian. You're not going to be able to do God's will and hear the Holy Spirit and live by the Holy Spirit. You know, 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 10 through 11, it says, anyone you forgive, Paul was speaking to the Corinthians. He said, anyone you forgive, I also forgive. And what I have forgiven, if there was anything to forgive, I have forgiven in the sight of Christ for your sake, in order that Satan might not outwit us, for we are not unaware of his schemes. Satan is always scheming, and I think that is the main reason why it is not good to let unforgiveness and that anger, unresolved anger, to fester and be present in our life. We need to give it to God, because that's his main goal. Satan's main goal is to break off that relationship, that communication that you have with God. And so, how does Satan scheme? He uses people that we know. Even in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus told Peter, "Get thee behind me, Satan." And this was when he was telling his disciples that he was going to be given over and die, for a greater good. And Peter said, no, never, it should never happen. And that's when he rebuked him. So Satan uses people that are in our everyday lives. Could be your family member, could be your spouse, could be your best friend. And they may not know what they're saying is being used for Satan. But say you said, I'm going to go to church every Wednesday night. And then your best friend texts you, hey, I'm having a dinner party, the first Wednesday night that you had already decided I'm going to church. Well, she doesn't know that you made that decision, but by throwing that out there, it's Satan's way of saying, well, you're not really committed, and he can get you out of that commitment you had already pre-made. I'm going to do this, and get you veered off in a different direction. So it could be as simple and as innocent, something innocent like that. He gets you, he uses those things to get you off of heavenly minded things and get you on fleshly minded things. The best example is that where Jesus rebukes Peter, because Peter was thinking about the here and now, that Jesus was really doing well in his ministry, and he wanted Jesus with him all the time, but Jesus's ministry was greater than just in that moment. He needed to die so that way he could have an impact on this whole world, so we could all have salvation, the gift of salvation. And that would have never come into fruition if Jesus didn't submit to God's will. So we need to be heavenly minded and not